Hey guys, it's me, Gary Lee Stanley, your sales guy. How are you doing today? Today we're going to talk about our favorite subject, which is sales. All right, we got a cool subject for ourselves today, so let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Let's put a smiley face on there and say howdy. Okay, what is our topic for today? Our topic for today is selling. Who are your heroes? What do you say? I said selling. Who are your heroes? How are they helping you to be successful? That's a mouthful. I'll tell you what, man, I've been in sales a long time and I've got people in my life that have been there for me. And I had to talk about it because it's like you didn't get to where you're at if you're successful or if you're doing good by just happenstance. Somebody had to have been there. And I'm just going to go through a list of people that I just thought were to die for. First of all, I'd like to thank God slash Jesus. That's the one, and we'll get back a little bit more about them because they wrote a book about him. It was the fastest growing book, and it's the one that sold more copies than any other book. You may not believe, but that's okay. Remember, we're talking about our heroes. Who are your heroes? And again, I'm just going to go through some brief ones here because they really mean a lot to me. One of my very first heroes, when I was a kid in second grade, there was a teacher, and this was before they changed the laws, back in the early 70s. And the law was, at the time that, hey, man, you could talk about God. God was in the schools and everything and so forth. And Miss Sappho was my second grade teacher in my house somewhere. I went and tried to look for it. I've got a little Bible, a Giddens Bible, that was given to me when I was in second grade. And after that, I didn't hear nothing about God after that in school. But my mom, she was so awesome as a kid. We didn't really go to church that much, but she used to have it on Sundays. Every Sunday we'd listen to Oral Roberts and some other great people. And I was captured just sitting there. We only had 3 television stations back when I was a kid. And every Sunday, we like clockwork, it would be on. And it was like those people that were on there, I thought they was talking to me. It felt like they were. At least I know God was in the mix in this regard. And so who are my heroes? First off, I have to say my mother. My mother is my hero. When we were kids, we didn't have a lot of money. My real father, things didn't work out for him. They got married kind of young. It just didn't work out. And my mother, being the type of person she was at that time, she had 2 little children, and it was frowned upon and looked down back in the day if you were on food stamps and child support. I mean, it was just a bunch of crap that was going on. And my mother, bless her heart, but by the grace of God, she's my hero because she went to work. She started working at least a couple of jobs. And even at one time, we had to live in the projects for about a year. And my mother clawed her way out of that and got her own home. She would rent a home. She had to work 3 jobs at the time. And I was kind of a latchkey kid. I was by myself most of the time. And I used to watch my mom reading all the time. So I didn't have nothing else to do. We were living kind of in the country, and I'd read all the time. So I didn't know it was enlightening my brain, but it gave me these synapses that clicked off that, hey, man, there's another world out there. So I had to give my mom the credit because she always, she didn't want to be on any kind of public assistance. Not to say there's anything wrong with it. I've had to have some help, because I'm a parent. And I've got to say, thank you, God, for any assistance that I was able to get, because my son is like one of my heroes. And the reason why is because he helped me develop a strong person. I've raised him by myself since he was 1 month old. And it's like they didn't give me a manual and I had to learn. It was tough and it was rough. And, I wish him all the fortune in the world. But he's like one of my heroes. But my mom, boom, boom. My stepfather that my mom met when I was 13 years old. This guy, he's from Mexico. He came to America legally and he had to figure out how to work. He used to work in the fields and stuff. We worked in the orange groves. We worked in the sod fields. We worked, and I mean, it was tough work. I grew up down in Tampa, and I was able to work in an environment that I was the only white person there. Everybody else was Spanish, and I was very fortunate that I got to see hard work, and it made me a better person. I got to physically do it. There wasn't no weekends where you could take a day off. You had to work. You had to work. And as I got a little bit older and stuff like that, I remember another hero of mine. Her name is Mrs. Blanco. Mrs. Blanco. Miss Blanco is my, sorry about that. My Mrs. Blanco was my English teacher. And I'm going to tell you what, that lady was awesome. She was my English teacher in the 8th grade. I would come to class. We'd have to read these stories and get up and give presentation. And I had been doing pretty good. And she said, "Man, you're pretty good, Gary." But this last time she called me, she said, "Gary, you gave a great presentation. Normally I'd get an A or a B because I'd have this great presentation of a book that I was supposedly have read." And she said, "Gary, you didn't read that book." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "You don't have to lie, Gary. I understand." She was very complimentary and very strong. She said, "I'm going to have to give you a D for this one." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because I read that book from top to cover, back to book, and you made it all up." And she said, "It's really, really good. I bet one day you're going to be a salesman." And I remember that. And she was one of the very first people that said I was good at something and made me feel good about myself, even though I didn't read it. But she said, "You got to start reading." So I started reading, and I was able to get up in front of people. I was able to become, class treasurer. I became vice president of my school. And when I was in high school, and I remember all these accolades and awards and being in different things because somebody believed in me. And also, as I got a little bit older, let's take a look here. I got into selling. And when I got into selling, one of the key persons that helped me, his name was Ronnie Poole. Ronnie Poole is always going to be in my heart because he's the person that introduced me to selling and what the concepts were, how much money you can make, and all the cool stuff that were available. And I'm excited to say thank you, Ronnie Poole, for pointing me into a positive direction. After that, we've got a gentleman that's one of my favorite people. Dwayne Dabrowski was another person that said, "Hey guys, hey, you're a salesman. I was a door-to-door salesman. I just got into it, been into it for less than a year." And he said, "Let's change. How would you like to change and make more money? How would you like to learn how to be a real salesperson and close more sales?" So he's the person, Dwayne Dabrowski, the person that is one of my heroes because he saw something in us and he was educated enough to say, "Hey, listen, we need additional help to help you." And as far as the training, the company I worked for at the time was the Tampa Tribune, great company, but he took it to the nth degree. He would say, "Come to my apartment." They had a nice apartment, nice car. He said, "Come to my apartment, a couple of days a week. We'll sit and listen to these cassettes." Yeah, back in the 80s. Okay, back in the dinosaur days. And we would sit and we would listen to people who became my heroes. And the reason why I stress that is because over the years, I still listen to these people and they still teach me and motivate me. That would be like Zig Ziglar. I love Zig Ziglar. He was so colloquial. He was so laid back. He was telling stories just like I love to do. And selling, that's all we do is tell stories. So he's one of my heroes. Brian Tracy broke it down as far as, how to be successful, talking about, motivation. Both of these were like one of my favorites. And also Tommy Hopkins. Tommy Hopkins actually talked also about the different types of techniques and closes. So I'm sharing these people with you. Go look them up. They're really great. And they helped me, Gary Lee, to be a successful salesperson. And our topic for today is selling. Who are your heroes? How are they helping you to be successful? I'm gonna tell you what, guys, I could go on for hours and hours, but let me jump back into here and share some more people. Bedford is another one. And this guy, he did a lot of bad things. He did some things, but there were some key things that he changed his life, got right with his situation. And he was another person that the straight line theory, the sales, the techniques, they came through my mind. I said, dang, that gives me more inspiration, more information to share so that way I can be a better salesperson. Ricardo is a guy that helped me in the pool business. I'm going to tell you what, this guy, he knew his sales. He knew his business. He taught me how. He said, "Gary, because I'm a comedy guy. I got a comedy channel too." He said, "Why don't you do some of those commercials for us in the morning?" I wake up, hey, and I would do these commercials for them, and people would get a laugh of them. I'd love them, and they were a lot of fun. And I have to say, Economy Pools, hey, thank you very, very much for and just I just had to say this Ricardo gentleman, I love him, man, even to this day. Also, there are some super people that, as a kid, when I was a kid, I was a real small, scraggly little kid, not tall at all. But there was a guy that I saw when I was a kid. His name was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, you may be going, why in the world would this guy be a hero? Because he made me see outside of myself. He was a foreigner like my dad who didn't have a pot to pee in when they first came to America, and they changed their whole lives. My dad, my mom, they got a huge house. They started working. They didn't have nothing. They worked their butts off. And the philosophy by working hard and working really hard, I really have to say Arnold Schwarzenegger, he got me into working out and going to the gym and taking care of myself at a very early age. And I remember looking in the magazines as a kid, back then. Also, believe it or not, Sylvester Stallone. This guy, he was like one of my all-time favorites as a young person because Rocky, it was like, he was this guy that was beat down. It was beat down. And I remember being beat down. We were real poor as a kid and we didn't have a lot, but we kept going. We kept going. And I started learning about how to be a salesperson. And I see these guys as motivators. Steve Harvey is another one that I really love to listen to listen to where these people come from and their world and how they became more successful, selling. Who are your inspiration? Who are your heroes? Who are the people that are motivating you? I hope I'm motivating you, and I hope one day I may be your hero or at least one of your heroes. And see, now today I've got some people that are in my life that have really helped me out. I got a friend named Horace. This guy runs his own landscaping company business, and this guy works his butt off. He's a big set, heavy set guy. We go see football together, and I love this guy. He's my friend, and he's like motivating me to show me a positive direction. Also, Jerry Denline. This guy, I lived in Baltimore for like 5 years, so I got a chance to meet this guy. And him and his family, when I didn't have anything, I didn't have any money. He gave me a job. He gave me food. He gave me an opportunity to be a better person, and he showed me by example. Also, I've got, I have to say that other people who are there was like Brent Swindell. Brent Swindell taught me about life insurance. He taught me how to have a conversation with people over the phone with that in mind, along with Jerry R. Johnson. They are two of the best salespeople that I know that are really good at talking to people about life insurance. And as a younger person back in the 90s and stuff, I really got hooked up, with some really great people like Craig Marone. Craig Marone is a person that I worked for because I used to sell electronics, and back in the 90s they were very expensive. They cost a lot of money, and they had to have warranties, service agreements, maintenance agreements. And this gentleman taught me the fundamentals on how to sell these things and not give up on the first no. He gave me the information. He's one of my all-time heroes because I can still see his face. He's not with us anymore. He passed a long time ago. But I love the guy because he just taught me to look at myself. He said, Gary, you can be very successful. He said, you can be a great salesman, and let me show you what to do. And he taught me, and he was kind of cool, man. He was from Philadelphia. He looked like, like he looked like he was in the mafia or something, but don't get me wrong, he wasn't. But he was such a great inspiration. And I just had to share that with you. My list, it's got to end with God. Okay, God is like my hero of all time. Like I said, they wrote a book about Jesus, who's my superhero, and has been inundating my whole life and has given me direction. I ain't saying I've always been a good salesperson. I'm not gonna say I've always been a good person. I've done a lot of wrong things, and I've had to change, and I have evolved. God is so good to me that he let me go through all these little things that I've gone through, but he helped me to be a more successful person, how to be a successful human being. He taught me how to have faith And I have a kid. I had raised him by myself for 18 years. It's like, oh crap. And there's a lot of women who've been doing that all day long, but it was something totally, and that is God, who's my, major hero. My mom is like, oh my gosh, I can't say enough about my mom. She wouldn't let me lay down on Sundays and Saturdays and just lay out and not study. She wouldn't let me. She made me work, And so my name is Gary Lee Stanley. We just had a very simple conversation about selling and who are your heroes. I've got so many other heroes and people that I would love to share with you about, but my list can only go on and on and on. And if you're not on that list, you're my hero too, because you're watching my videos. And also, with this in mind, I've got literally hundreds and hundreds of videos. So do me a favor, give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and please subscribe and give me the thumbs up, because what it does is it helps with the algorithm, and it also gets other people interested in watching videos about selling. And we need that. We need to help each other so that way we can be more successful in sales. And our total topic for today is selling. Who are your heroes? Okay. How are they helping you to be successful? Now you know about mine, so you might want to write down and say, oh, okay, I wonder who has got me to being the best that I can be. All right. Okay. We just talked about our heroes. All right.